you who don't know me, I'm Marilyn Trent. I am the founder of Rochester Pollinators. I founded it to save the monarch butterfly when I learned that it was in decline. And as I learn more and more, we have I am on the city council of the city of Rochester, and I own a small company, and I'm Daughters of the American Revolution Conservation Chair. So I managed to weave all of those positions and roles into sustainability and conservation and amplify the message that I feel is so important for everyone to learn about. So, so today we have over 250 enthusiastic volunteers who are dedicated to restoring biodiversity through education, planting, and weeding, with a mission to basically educate and provide resources to preserve the monarch butterfly and pollinator population by reintroducing native plants into local landscapes, and one garden at a time, and also public lands. Backwards? Is that it? Yes. So our impact. We are starting to make an impact. Since 2019, we've sold over 60,000 native plants. It's our biggest fundraiser because this is funded by my company. It fills in the gaps, and it also is a 501c3 at the Community Foundation of Greater Rochester because I don't want to run a full nonprofit. I have a company that actually makes money. So we've given away over 6,000 plants. We have, it actually should say 2,500 Facebook followers. We average about 28 events and presentations such as these, and events like at tabling events, like the seed giveaway at Indian Oaks last month was one. And then we also present at the Lavender Festival and the Sunflower Festival, because that increases our outreach to people that may never have heard about native plants and the importance of it. And the reason we keep doing it is because people, 9 out of 10 people say, hey, what do I plant? Where do I plant it? I want to be part of the solution of saving our pollinator insects and wildlife through restoring the Michigan native plants into their landscapes, because it's something everyone can do. And that is what I found, because you can't, many times people do want to do something about the environment. Maybe they can't fix the recycling problem, or maybe they can't feed that polar bear little skinny polar bear they show you, a fish, but they can plant a native plant or tree or shrub in their yard, and even in container pots. So today, we're going to talk about the reciprocity, the hidden reciprocity of forest. That's how trees cooperate through underground fungal networks, and how we can learn from nature to reintroduce thriving green spaces into urban environments. We'll explore forest intelligence, real world success stories, and how we can apply this method right here in Michigan. Well, what led me to want to plant a mini forest? Well, it was a Facebook link to the Green Communities Initiative, partially funded by the Canadian government, and they offered a free course on mini forests, and it was only an hour, so I had an hour. I took it, and I was hooked. It also made me think about the many walks I've taken in a forest. It's not just me, but it's proven that people feel a sense of calm, and even connection, and even a sense of magic, because sometimes you'll find little kids have made fairy houses in the forest. What if I told you that the trees around you, they weren't just growing, but they're communicating, sharing, and even helping each other survive? I learned that forests aren't just a collection of random trees. They're living, intelligent communities, much like human societies. And today, we'll explore how they do it and what we can learn from them. Cooperation and collaboration. That's how we survive. So it began with Dr. Suzanne Samar's research that changed how we understand forest. She worked for a logging company in British Columbia, and she began noticing that after clear cutting, that when they were replanting seedlings, that some grew better and faster while other seedlings died. And it led her to question the conventional wisdom that trees were competing for sunlight, water, and nutrients. Instead, excuse me, she observed there was something more complex that was going on. She discovered there were mother trees, and they're the oldest and strongest trees in a forest that supported younger and weaker trees by sharing nutrients and chemical signals through underground networks, and that the trees were communicating and sharing those nutrients with each other in that way. It was a totally new concept. Let me explain. Dr. Simard was fascinated with this concept, and she conducted some of the most important experiments in forest ecology using Douglas firs. It took years for the forest industry to accept this concept. She was ridiculed a lot, there was pushback, she was blacklisted, they were going to burn her at the stake, but it's illegal. Her work had spanned over 30 years, and she continues today with the Mother Tree Project. So what she did was she injected Douglas fir trees to prove this with radioactive isotopes using a Geiger counter. And she tracked how the carbon moved between the trees underground, just like she thought. The results showed that the carbon being shared wasn't just one species, Douglas fir to Douglas fir, but it ran across many species. Older trees were sending carbon to younger trees, even in the different species, like I said. Why this matters? This proved that trees don't just compete. They actively support one another. Mother trees distribute carbon strategically, ensuring the survival of the forest. Forests act like social networks where trees exchange resources for the benefit of the ecosystem. This means that trees aren't just competing for resources, they're cooperating, ensuring their survival through reciprocity. Douglas firs and birch trees were found to exchange these nutrients seasonally. So in summer, birch trees sent excess carbon to the firs. And in winter, when birch trees lost their leaves, the Douglas firs, they sent excess carbon back to support them. Using what they need and what they don't need enters the network. It's like a flow. Without this fungal network, it's very difficult, and it's harder for these trees to survive. So if you think about it, the isolated trees that we grow, the reason they don't live as long, because it is true, and they don't recover as fast from disease is because they don't have this support network. So when the storms come as well, they can't hold each other up because it's just one tree. So come to find out, the mother tree is essential for a healthy and thriving forest. They act as nature's internet, connecting tree roots and allowing them to share resources. This is kind of funny, but it's also known as the Wood Wide Web. All right, so Dr. Simard's studies uncovered this mycorrhizal fungi, also known as fungus roots, play a crucial role in tree communication by linking their root systems and facilitating nutrient exchange. These underground networks, they function like nature's internet, like I said, enabling trees to share essential resources. This image, taken from Dr. Simard's laboratory research, illustrates how the mycorrhizal fungi are what they look like in action. They're exchanging this carbon. This demonstrates how they change the carbon between their roots. As the fungi spread through the soil, they absorb nutrients and water, transporting them back to the trees in exchange for photosynthetic carbon, which fuels their own growth. So there's the reciprocity and the synchronicity. Studies show how mycorrhizal networks can transport these nutrients and even chemical and carbon and even chemical signals between the trees up to 100 feet apart, and sometimes more. So knowledge sharing, support networks, and mutual aid have always been the foundation of progress. The more connected a tree was, the healthier it became. Like people. They show how the more connected people are, they have done a lot of studies, and to their neighbors, their families, and their communities, the healthier they are too. In this mapping graphic, each circle represents a Douglas fir tree. They only did this with Douglas firs. She only did this with Douglas firs in this graphic. So the bigger the circle, the older the tree. So the biggest circles represent the mother tree. These forests, they share resources and they warn each other of threats, and this is showing how they do it, and they protect the next generation. This is the relationship for the very survival of trees, also known, as I said, reciprocity. Reciprocity isn't just a human concept, it's nature's design for success. This partnership ensures the trees support one another rather than competing to the death. Humans, as my husband said, who is here today, my live-in historian, humans would never have gotten out of the cave without cooperation and collaboration. But there is some competition that does exist in the forest when they are trying to find the sun and grow towards the sun. But in the end, the full forest is full of networks of mutuality. So, I think we got that point across. Yeah, reciprocity in nature relies on cooperation over competition. So we know and we've heard about that forests are critical to a healthy planet. They absorb carbon dioxide, they shelter biodiversity by providing homes for thousands of our native species, they regulate the water cycle, and they prevent floods, and they purify groundwater. So let's start talking about the Miyawaki method. It was pioneered by a Japanese botanist called Akira Miyawaki in the 1970s and has gained international attention as a promising approach to reforestation and biodiversity in urban areas. Instead of planting isolated trees, he created cooperative mini-forests just like nature intended. Using native plant species and mimicking natural forests, these density planted pocket forests provide a wide range of benefits for the environment and the community. What had happened is that Japan's rapid post-war development was showing its downside, as developing nations do, through increased pollution and deforestation. So as a young scientist, he understood what unfortunately many people don't even today, that humans depend on functioning ecosystems for our well-being and survival of the planet. He knew how plants grew faster and denser when planted closely together, but he really didn't know about the mycorrhizal network at the time, but he learned more about it, but what he focused on was one of the main ecological processes that are happening, and is based on the rapid vertical growth due to dense planting, and that means that they're fighting for light composition, which means they grow 10 times as faster. So when trees and plants are planted densely, they compete for sunlight. That forces them to grow faster and straighter to reach the canopy, mimicking the natural succession of forests. This competition creates a self-sustaining layered forest structure in a short time, 20 to 30 years instead of 100. The canopy closes quickly, reducing weeds and keeping the forest self-sustaining. The mycorrhizal network formation also starts being a part of it, and that's as the roots grow deeper and intertwine, they connect via the mycorrhizal fungi. These underground networks exchange nutrients, like we talked about, sugar, nitrogen, phosphorus between the trees and plants. They improve drought resistance, they boost plant immunity, and they increase carbon sequestration, so it becomes a carbon sink. So the network accelerates the forest resilience and restores the degraded land faster. Well, why does it matter? Well, it restores these urban ecosystems in a method that has proved to be successful. The combination of the above-ground competition for light and below-ground cooperation via the mycorrhizal networks mimics natural forests, making them self-sufficient within 2 to 3 years, which I really like too, because I got into pollinator gardens and they take maintenance. This does not. So, from Paris to India, now the global examples of these forests, that seems like thousands have been planted. I don't know the number. From Paris to India to Japan to the Netherlands and to the United States, many cities have urban mini-forests now, and they're transforming landscapes, improving air quality and restoring the ecosystems. These mini-forests and villages in the cities of the Netherlands, 126 of them, have been planted by a Dutch foundation called IVN Nature Education, in which they foster biodiversity as well. They measured 11 of them, and 11 of them, the results were they collected those mini-forests of the 11 collected 6 million gallons of rainwater. So the shrubs also work against heat stress in the city. When it was an extremely hot summer, there was a big difference between the temperature of the forest soil under the trees, 15 degrees, and that of the street, 40 degrees. Their mini-forests are also home to 600 species and collects carbon. So what they found is that they can repeat this mycorrhizal fungal networks as well, which this is why they're very excited it's working. So here's what we have in the statistics. They grow 10 times as fast. They're 30 times denser. They're 100 times more biodiverse, and they're 100%, what did I say, 100% organic, of course. So here's just a little example of how fast it can grow. They planted theirs in the fall, which is mostly encouraged, but we're taking a risk. We're planting ours in the spring in Rochester, but this is there, what it looks like, and it's a lot of twigs. Just want to say, people are like, wow, a mini-forest, you're thinking of maybe your little elf house or something. It is not. It is going to be dry, a lot of twigs. But in June, this is what it looked like, and in September, this is what it looked like. So that's what they're saying, how fast it can grow. So, yeah.
What's the average size of these forests?
These from the ones I've seen, I actually not clear, but sure, they recommend 1,000 square feet at a minimum. You can plant them in your yards though, if you want to do 300 square feet and mimic it, just 1/3 the size. You can do that. If you have a bigger lawn, you can make a bigger one, but the recommendation is 1,000 feet or more.
Thank you.
And so we're learning from nature, and nature perfected our forest and how they grow. And the Miyawaki method is not about controlling nature, it's about learning from it. And so by mimicking the old growth forest, we create green spaces that thrive, sustain biodiversity, and fight climate change. So here's what we're going. I wanted to give you our work plan and what we're doing and the steps we're taking in the city of Rochester. We're in the midst of it, but the planting will be on May 3rd. So first of all, we're doing it on a public land, and usually that's where you usually do it. And so you have to obtain city council approval. You have to start talking to people to get their buy-in. I've talked to people, how do you work with city? And you'd say you can't change or move, you can't make City Hall do anything. I forget, what was it? You can't, I forget the statement, but you can't do anything with City Hall is what they say. But yes, you can. Yes, you can. You can find a city council person, your representative, who might want to bend their ear. They may even be running for council this year, and they may want to think, wow, we can get some bipartisan and, the nature lovers and all sorts of kids and people involved with planting a mini forest. So talk to them. If you have a city manager, talk to the city manager, get to know your Parks and Rec department, DPW department. They have been extremely helpful for me since 2019. And then create a budget. Find the funds, and like I said, partner with DPW and Parks Department if you can, and they have a lot of machinery. And sometimes within those departments, they have people who have environmental science degrees, forestry degrees, and they can get really excited about this as opposed to mowing grass, because that's one of the things they do. Find the land, and they can also help you find the land. They'll say, hey, there's this little patch over here, it's hard to mow. or it's a good place for us to plant this, why don't we do it here? That's what my DPW and Parks Department employees said. Select the native species, and they have to be native. Create the design, prepare the soil, create that maintenance plan, because it will need some maintenance the first 3 years. Find people or volunteers to record the data as it grows and monitor it, monitor any insects or birds that are coming to visit. Get community engagement, which I found out is very simple because I've gotten a lot and I've only advertised this a little, and then let nature do its job. So, and with the right land and community effort and native species, you can make a difference and grow these in your own cities. So Ann Arbor and Muskegon are two that have mini forests now. Ann Arbor's planted there and theirs in the fall, and they have an amazing set of information because they've documented it. We've used their documentation to help us make sure we don't miss things, because they even have they have a Google Doc that says what we made mistakes with and what we wished we'd known. Plus, here's what worked. And theirs is at Burr Park. And the newest one, another one we found out about is the city of Warren in the fall. It's going to be 13,000 square feet with 6,500 plants and shrubs. So we got our budget, and the plants and trees are averaging around 5,800 at wholesale, because I can get these wholesale. This has changed a bit, so once it's finalized, we will post this and it'll have the final cost. We did get the funds from, you see it's $12,420. We were able to get 2 grants, one from the Community Foundation of Greater Rochester and one from First State Bank. They totaled $11,000. So the funds that Rochester Pollinators raises that are in the Butterfly Pledge in the city of Rochester, maybe more than you need to know, but it will cover the rest, or my company will. So, we found the land. We found 1,000 square feet of land, and that was us out there just the other day looking at it. It's been staked off. The man in the middle is who we need a whole lot of help from. He works for the DPW, and he does a lot of mowing. His name is Colin Pettit, and he is very excited about this. It's behind the community garden, and next to the sugar maple grove, which is basically a monoculture, so they do need diversity, and it's on an old garbage dump. So our challenges increase from 100 years ago. So it's not chemical-based ones, we have been told. It's just like when in 130 and 20 years ago, but it was the edge of town, they would take their old bottles and what's left. I mean, everything else seemed to decompose, but you've got bottles of metal in there. I've seen it, because we do have, let's see if we look over here. Over to the far left, there is a pollinator garden that was planted 4 years ago with a Girl Scout who had a gold award project, and then she left it for us, and we're really excited. We have people who take care of it. Thank goodness. So, yeah, like I said, partner with your DPW and Parks Department. Carrie Martin is sitting next to Colin Pettit, and she has embraced this so much that she has bought the book. It's called From Wasteland to Wonderland, I think it's called. And it's an excellent book about rewilding public lands and gardens, and it has the Miyawaki Method and information in there as well. So what is it? This graphic shows the layering of the forest and what we're replicating. You have canopy layer, and then you have the sub-tree and sub-canopy layers, and then you have the shrub layer. And this is important because what it is a combination of percentages that we use, their formula, and 200, so we came up with 290 native tree, shrubs, and plant species. And you can say we have 12 varieties of 52 canopy trees, 11 varieties of 106 understory, 11 varieties of 132 shrubs, and we are going to add native plants that include milkweed and ground cover in the fall.
I was going to ask.
We got to fulfill our Mayor's Monarch pledge.
Right.
And we're also going to put some forbs and grasses as this evolves.
Okay.
So, yeah, so that's how we did it. So we also have keystone species trees in there, and that is, I don't know if you're familiar with them, but they, not all trees and plants are created equal, though we do need them. So what we're gonna have is the oak tree, red maple, black cherry, and we have two oaks, the white oak and the bur oak. And the oak trees support over 500 species, and this is just a list of a few. Firewings, lacewings, moths, butterflies, bumblebees, beetles. And that's where these caterpillars live that feed the chickadees, robins, and many other bird species. Which gets us to birds. I always want to give a plug for the birds. The native trees provide these caterpillars that birds need to feed their young, because baby birds, 96% of them do not eat seeds. Their preferred food is the soft bodies of caterpillars, and that they have more protein than beef. They're also known as thin-skinned sausages, so if you need to go in survival mode, you got those sausages on your trees. You know, if you can't find beef, go to your trees. Make sure you plant them, because America has lost 3 billion birds in the last 50 years, mostly to habitat loss, but there's other reasons as well. So the actual species that nest in these trees depend largely on the geographical location, but they're robins and blue jays and starlings and many other types of birds that nest high in the canopy. So what they can do, if they're high up, they can go just a few feet down or 5-10 feet down to get their caterpillars, instead of flying further and further away 100 times a day to get those caterpillars. So it wears them out. And chickadees, it takes 6,000 to 9,000 caterpillars to raise a chickadee to fledgling and fly away. Kick them out of the nest. Make find your own food. I'm worn out. So the native trees, also known, some native trees are also known as vertical flower power, or most all of them, because a full-grown black cherry tree in bloom is the equivalent to 3,500 square feet of perennials. So we do encourage you to learn more about the native trees and shrubs, but that, for the sake of time, would take a whole nother presentation. But I did put some numbers, so you can see some statistics of the black cherry supports 418 species, choke cherry is a shrub, big shrub, tall shrub. It supports 340 species, prairie willows 289, red maple 281. So you see, when we're replacing these with a ginkgo tree, which only supports one, you can see the level of loss we're going to have with our wildlife and butterflies and insects. So just for sake of who wore it best, the non-natives versus natives, and we are going to have some New Jersey teas in our mini-forest. Boxwood supports 0 species, and a New Jersey tea 115. So that would be a keystone shrub. Yeah, burning bush, a lot of favorites, 2 species, but a dogwood is 118. And then the spice bush is 18 species, but it's also a host plant to the spice bush swallowtail, and it's one of the few plants and shrubs that the female will lay its eggs on for her young to survive. The same as milkweed. Milkweed, monarchs. That's the only, it's a host plant for monarchs. All right, so I was talking about Carrie and what a hero she was. Well, this is what she came up with. It means a lot to her, and she's going to, we're going to break this up into a grid when people come to plant plants, and she has, what she's done is she's identified the best places for the canopy trees to be planted as they will grow the tallest, and it's essential to the layering effect that we're aiming for. So then you arrange and identify the best combination of understories and shrubs to plant near each other, because some grow faster and better combinations than others. And I have no idea what that is, but my experts do. I don't know if I told everyone, I have a fine arts degree in graphic designer, and I just got very excited when I learned how I could do something to help nature and spread the word. So because of mini-forest is being planted on a more than 100-year-old dump, we chose to take the soil out and replace it with nutrient-rich soil. So we're creating fresh soil with a mixture of compost, topsoil, and leaf mulch. And in that leaf mulch is where the mycorrhizal fungi can grow. And that's why it's so essential. And that's why it's very essential the nutrients when you leave the leaves, and you make your leaves as compost in your gardens. You're doing what nature had intended. It never intended these leaves to be taken to a garbage dump, be turned into methane to warm our planet. That wasn't Mother Nature's idea. It was a human decision. So that's basically it. And we're going to put arborist mulch on top. Not because we're trying to keep chemicals out. So you got these different colors that don't look like it was ever bark. It's got some kind of chemical coloring in it. Some of them also have chemicals in mulch that you buy from the store. And arborist mulch is the cheapest. And I think we might be able to get it for free. So prepare for planting day. And that's what you've seen what this is. We're in the process of doing that right now. How many people we need? We've decided we need 30. And if you have interest in knowing how we do it, we will make that information available online. And we also have a Mini-Forest page online and links to our Google Doc and links to the Ann Arbor website and more. So then, what we had to decide as well is that as many people want to participate, we needed to control it to make sure the plants are planted correctly, because we have 7 gallons trees. We have some in 1 gallon. We have plugs, and we also have bare roots. But when you're planting a tree from a 7-gallon size, it's been contained in this wrap, you have to pull the roots out a little bit because it wasn't meant to grow that way. And you make sure you don't twist it, because you twist it in the hole, you're trying to, how people try to adjust their paintings or when they're hanging them, they're like moving them here, moving them there. Can't do that. You have to lift it up and you have to move it, because the roots will wrap around each other and it will die. It will choke itself to death. So, like I said, we're going to align, and so then we needed to align volunteers with roles and responsibilities. So we're assigning a supervisor for the day, which is Michelle, which is the volunteer supervisor. She is a part-time employee that works for Rochester Pollinators. We're going to assign 1 team leader per 2 people per 100 square feet to plant these shrubs and trees. And then we have to color code and cluster. We're in the midst of trying to figure out how to coordinate that. We think we're going to put everything in those 100 feet areas to try to have it go faster for the people who are planting. And we want to make sure we have enough tools, food, and plants. We also want to have them identified so that we know what we planted, so when we're monitoring it. So we have to have maintenance plan, and we do, for watering, weeding, and replacing the species that die and don't make it in the fall. So we're also going to do recording data and monitoring. We're going to measure growth of the trees and shrubs over the spring and summer before going dormant in the fall, and count any insects that visit, and are there birds starting to come. And we're going to have a fence that goes up right away to keep the deer out, and then we're going to have the bench on the outside, because we can't have people walking through this little plot of land. So our mini-forest has taken on a life of its own. It's expanded our native plant community to engage more people than we currently have, from young children to teenagers to neighbors to volunteers and city officials. And people want to get involved, and they want to be a part of it to help. So once planted, people can watch this forest grow, and in 2 years, 5 years, or 10 years or more, they can know that they were a part of creating the first mini-forest in the city of Rochester. I have an anecdotal story that proves my point. Each year, we have a community outlook breakfast that brings stakeholders from around the community for the Tri-City, or township in 2 cities, City of Rochester, Rochester Hills, Oakland Township, and Rochester Community Schools. So these leaders and mayors were on a panel, and our mayor was so excited, she talked about the mini-forest and she mentioned the mother tree. And I thought, these are business owners. There's about 300 of them. They may have never heard of the mother tree. I know I didn't, but that's what I'm saying about the excitement when I see it getting beyond people like us and others who have a real interest to give up their Saturday and learn about this. They heard about the mother tree. And our mayor will be there to cut the ribbon and probably plant a tree. So that's what I'm excited about. So on April 22nd, we are planting the mother tree. And it will be a red maple, a native red maple. So you want to join us on May 3rd at 4 p.m. We'll be cutting the ribbon. It will be planted. There will be some food, we hope, left. You can follow our Mini-Forest story on Facebook and Instagram. You don't use pesticides in your landscapes as well. You want to help integrate native plants and shrubs into your landscape. Sign up for our newsletter. Pre-order plants and shrubs online. We're selling them as well as other native plant nonprofits are selling their native plants as well. We'll list those online. And ask your local officials to protect our pollinators on public lands by planting native plants. You can also ask your nurseries, do you have real native plants? Of which I get to my soapbox. Where do you get authentic native plants? Many times they say, look, they have some kind of cool name, and it's not a native echinacea, it's a cultivar. And you see this one, someone had the bright idea to add they doubled it. So the bee or insect cannot get to the nectar. So it's basically like, this doesn't work. So the one on the right is a native, and the way you can tell they're native, I have a brochure here that you can pick up, but it has the Latin names. And look for the Latin names, because so far, you're not allowed to put a Latin name on a cultivar. Yeah, so I have some books, and I have the books over there, but I have the books here that listed that if you want to know more about Mini-Forest, I recommend also the IBN Nature Education course and handbook is on the Dutch website, and I will make this available to anybody who wants this PowerPoint presentation. Just put your name and ask for it, and I'll make it available. Maybe Lizzie might need it, she can make that available as well. Here's some other books I recommend for native plantings. I think they're very comprehensive and can help you improve or create your pollinator garden from scratch. And so here's where we are. We're everywhere all the time. So, we have swag and seeds on Etsy and BusyBuzz. We have native seeds. We have free native seed library at Dinosaur Hill Nature Preserve in the city of Rochester. We're going to sell our plants at the farmers market one Saturday on May 17th in the downtown Rochester Farmers Market. And then we are opening up our native plant general store at my office, yes, from May 19th to the 28th. And we will be dressed up like Victorian ladies, because we don't use barcodes. You are literally probably buying it like you would in the old-timey days, except we do take credit cards. So anyway, I couldn't do this without my board of directors, my board chair, and that's it. Thank you.
Marilyn, I'd like to tell them about a speaker that we have coming here in 3 weeks. It's the first Saturday of April, already coming, and it's going to be about the famous Bill
The Oldham Garden? Yeah.
Yes, and that is all native plants, and the person coming is Richard Thomas, and he's in charge of the people who take care of the garden. It's all volunteer. Piet Udall of the Netherlands designed the garden, and he has gardens throughout the world that are very famous. But you will get drawings of the garden, all the names of the plants, and he will also tell you about how you can go online for the Belle Isle Udall Garden, and they have an interactive map there that you can put in the name of a plant, and it will come up and show you where that plant is in the garden. So it's free. If you would like to come and hear that, give me your name and email, and I will send you information about it. List those, the ones you just ran off. I grabbed the wrong one.
Well, we'll have the events on our website as well, but just wanna make sure that, we'll get that on our website. We got the last one on, Michelle, my communication specialist, is uploading information, and she'll upload information about the native plant sales. And we also have on our website a lot of information, and we also have nurseries that carry real native plants, because we know Rochester pollinators can't supply Michigan or Southeast Michigan with these plants. We can supply information. Does anybody have any questions?
Your presentation. I have one statement and then one question about the presentation. We have lots of native seeds here that we want to give away. If anyone wants them, let me know. We have a whole catalog, so please take them.
Okay.
And two, that resource that you shared, that QR code, does that go to a site where, I'm trying to think of like the average homeowner, maybe doesn't have the time or is overwhelmed with trying to learn all the different trees. Is there like a design service or assistance in like, I need help like figuring out for my 300 square feet kind of thing?
Yeah, there are a couple, and I believe we have, well, make sure we get those online. I'm not sure if they're specific to Mini-Forest. There is though, I can put up the link to Leaf and Limb, and we also, pollinators, Rochester pollinators will help as well, for a basic fee, or if it's not a lot of help, our goal is to get more of these native trees and plants in the ground, we just give it advice as well.
Leaf and limb, or leaf and, what was it?
Leaf and Limb?
Leaf and limb?
It was a Leaf and Limb, from, something to Wasteland. It's, what did I say, it was?
That book?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, from
Yeah.
Wasteland to Wonder. I think
Yeah,
it was,
from
yeah.
Wasteland to
Okay.
Wonder.
That's what you're talking
And he has a lot of links in that book to real quick explanations about what he's talking about. And he also has, he has a method of the Miyawaki method that he tried to scale down so people could do it. So yeah, we would, if anyone, we could put a call out, if anyone wants to try this in your yard, we would, for free, try to help you, Rochester pollinators, as a case study to help do this. So we want to get case studies out there. Like, we love to do case studies with HOAs. We're starting to get a few of those. But yeah. Yep.
I had a quick question about the monitoring. What are you planning to use to monitor? Are you doing like creating a naturalist project, or?
We might contact you.
All right.
We don't have an idea.
Yeah.
Kelly, I just want to say, we have a star in our midst. Kelly is from Grosse Pointe Park, and she's on the City Beautiful Commission?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
And
Beautification Commission. But yeah.
Beautification Commission, and she was a mentor of mine, and she took my method of engagement and just really has taken off. And then she's also, are you part of the way that you started the Wayne County? Or?
Wild Wayne County. Yeah.
I mean, and she also does a wonderful presentation on the citizen science. I don't know if you're taking that on the road, but there's Lizzie.
Yeah.
I heard rave reviews about it. I was like, I'm thinking, when she showed up, I'm thinking, oh, I hope I do this okay. I was even gonna say, can I see your
Pressure is on.
Right. No, but I would love to help you or work with you on creating like a monitoring.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, it would be. Yes.
I have a question. I did change my whole landscape to natives, and last year was the second year. So everything's starting to grow really good. But I haven't touched it. Now, to protect the insects and any of the birds, when should I cut back what's there that's dead?
I know. Wow.
It's such a...
They say the rule of thumb is when it's 50 degrees for
The soil is 50 degrees.
the soil is
Yeah.
50 degrees for 10 days.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's so hard though in today's climate that it fluctuates so much that I kind of wait till Mother's Day-ish.
And then cut back.
And then I
the
cut,
dead.
you
Cut it down to
knee length.
knee high, so that it keeps the
That will, yeah.
Go
It
ahead.
will create nesting areas for our native bees.
Oh, okay.
At the knee height, and that will make it look neat. And then the greenery goes up around it. So basically, the rule of thumb is don't cut it below knee high. But we understand if you've got to do it in your front yard lower. I mean, you just have to see the tolerance of how it's growing and how your neighbors feel.
Right.
I have a sign in my front yard
Oh,
said
good.
pollinator habitat in progress. We're feeding the bees and
Oh,
birds.
excellent. Signage, yes,
Yeah.
I forgot to say signage is excellent. It's
So,
great.
so they know why it's also
Yes,
messy.
and they
It's
kind of lean
intention.
in.
Yeah.
They lean in and they'll ask questions like,
Yeah, they
oh,
do.
really? Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that. And a lot of times people say we're keeping it as neat, tidy in the front yard and the party's going on in the back.
Right.
It's
Yeah.
kind of what's happening in mine, but mine's on the side as well. But yeah,
Okay.
so that's a good question.
So we'll wait a little bit.
Yeah,
Wait till,
and-
I know it's so hard because it's like
Some
the
of
kids
it-
in there, but
The rattlesnake master is already growing.
Is it?
yeah, I've seen mine come up too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. They're starting to grow, and they will grow under like a light layer of leaf litter. People
Yeah.
think that it smothers the plants, but it won't. You know, a lot of them actually like that. So.
It's kind of
Yeah.
protects.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Marilyn, probably be helpful if I mention that in May, we are having a speaker from CISNA who is going to talk about integrated pest
Pest
management and invasive species.
That's
And it's
good.
gonna
Yeah.
be here, but I grabbed my wrong calendar, and so I don't have that information. But that is going to be the first Saturday in May here at 10 o'clock. And then the other speaker I told you about, who will be telling you all about the Udolph Garden, is going to be here the first Saturday in April. I think it's April 5th at 10 o'clock. And again, we do this all free, like Marilyn, we're trying to get the word out to the public, and our part of our mission is to educate the public that they can be involved and help our bees, our butterflies, our hummingbirds, and everyone is welcome. But I just need to know because the capacity is limited here. So we have people RSVP if they're coming, and so
They can do that.
I need to see your name and your email, and I will send you information about the environmental programs that we have. Or here's a paper where you can sign up.
So so the other thing that we do is our email being rochesterpollinators@trentcreative.com. We love those emails because they're always happy, kind of positive, and people wanting to know about native plants. So we keep a very good eye on those. So if you have any questions at any time, just email us. We monitor that well. Yes.
Instead of boxwood, what was that plant?
New Jersey tea.
New Jersey.
Yes, and
It's pretty.
it is very pretty. It's very pretty, and it doesn't grow very tall, because one of the things that we realized after when I saw and know very well, that most of these plants, many of them grow 4, 5, 6, 10 feet tall, like a cup plant. But we created this home garden friendly set of plants that are as short as 2 to 3 feet. But yeah, so the New Jersey tea is a shorter shrub, which is a good thing if you want a short one, because they. But the other thing is, people are like, well, how big does it grow? Well, look what you do to your boxwood. You can cut them back. It's not like, they don't have to be wild or looking, so you can trim them. Yeah.
For that particular garden plan you're holding, are there maintenance guides available for that?
Are there what?
Maintenance guides.
Oh, how to take care of it?
Yeah.
Well, that's a good idea. I'll put that on my list. I should do that. Well, we have garden kits. Yes, that's a great idea. We'll put that information on our website. And also for our garden kits, we sell like butterfly garden or hummingbird garden kit. We're gonna start putting like little plans of where, you get this tray of plants, and then I realized people wanna know how in our mind, how we've designed it for height. Basically, it's height and clumping 2 or 3 together, and showing people how you design. How do you design? Well, you design by either taking these 2 or 3 Riddell's goldenrod. They grow about 5 feet, and you clump them over towards the back of the garden. But this columbine is about 3 feet, and it up in the spring, and we know that. So it's about this high, so you would put it in front if it's got a back. So that's the type of information we're gonna work on getting online.
I think you also have Heather Holmes' like guide on your website. I'm
Okay.
pretty sure under your resources
Okay.
that it's a really good visual example of how to leave the stems for stem nesting bees. Like
Oh,
in terms
yes,
of maintenance,
you're right.
like when you're talking about
Yes,
maintenance, like
there-
it's a really clear diagram and it shows you like each season, you know, kind of
What
how
it
it
looks like.
how it works. Because I
Because-
didn't understand it until I saw that. You know, that
Oh,
really
yeah.
is like a full like 2 years that you need to leave these stems up for the for them to nest and
'Cause
then
that's-
emerge. It's a whole cycle. So.
Yeah, because those are the stem nesting bees.
Mhm.
Because the ground nesting bees, I used to think when I saw these little holes, I thought they were all ants, but they're actually ground nesting bees, which we need. So they actually want you to leave a little bit of bare ground because they can't go into the ground with grass. So those are all these little extra things that they want you to do where wildlife lives. They live in and then leave the leaves because many of them overwinter. The caterpillars or larvae overwinter in the leaves.
That would be a cool thing for you guys to develop like a maintenance guide that
You're
included
right.
all those things in it.
I'm putting
I
it
don't
down.
think that-
I have to put it down here because this is my Bible.
I don't think there's a resource out there that has like it all the tips in one place, you know?
There isn't.
I would share that if you
Yeah.
make it.
What?
I will share it if you make it.
Okay.
You
make it and
It's my job.
Well, because we're a graphic design company, I guess.
Yeah, you
we're able
guys do such a good
to
job.
make it look pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you. Oh,
I just want to thank you for your presentation today. I want to thank Kelly for her presentation over at the Gardeners
Oh, yes.
a week or two
Oh,
ago,
you saw-
because I remember seeing her community science.
Oh yeah.
Oh.
And I want to thank Maria for all of her work with the Daylily Society and her programs that she does. Because this is, like I said, I don't get any information unless I get it in paper form. And I do appreciate hearing all of your talks. I really do. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Big clap.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Oh, yes.
What's the location of the mini-forest in Rochester?
So I don't know if you're familiar with Rochester, but north, you go up on North Rochester Road on the north side, you go to Woodward, you turn left, and there is about a quarter of a mile. There's a DPW that's a little further back from the road. It has DPW, Department of Public Works. And then behind that is Community Garden, Sugar Maple Grove, and even further, that's where we're gonna plant our mini forest. Yeah. So like we said, we're gonna have a couple of benches. People wanna sit there and watch our little twigs grow, and some of them will be bigger though, because they'll be 7 gallons. Yeah. And we're really excited about it, and we're excited that other people are excited, so. Yeah.
Would you ever consider setting up a booth at like the Shelby Township Farmers Market?
We might, if I can talk, I talk to my board and I can see, sure, yes, we would consider, doing that, sure. And, at least once, yeah. Is it, I didn't know Shelby had one.
Yeah, it's pretty small. That's why I say that like more presence would be fantastic.
Yeah, because it would be us introducing native plants to people, so we could maybe scale it back a little bit, I don't know, because to move these plants, we've realized that, but we don't have to do as many Shelby as we do at our.
Even if it's just like an information
Oh,
outreach kind of deal.
okay, all right.
I don't think there's a lot of like stuff in Shelby Township in particular.
Oh, okay, sure.
Yeah, this is Macomb.
Yeah.
We're in Macomb County.
Yeah, and it's so nice that they support this nature center, because nature centers are struggling. And that is where Oakland County was trying to figure out ways that they could help nature centers with their parks millage, because they were seeing that, a lot of times people expect the city to support nature centers, and not all cities do, and if they're cutting budgets, when a budget cutting has come along, they've got to cut the nature centers. So this one is a jewel, thank you Lizzie, and also getting it in front of people, having them use it is how you keep them funded, you know, so, yeah, Lizzie works really hard. I know that. So, okay.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming. Sure, yeah, thank you. No.
Can you do a mini garden, mini-forest?
Yeah, yes, with trees that
Like what?
yeah, wet. And shrubs, the shrubs that are wet.
Shrubs.
Yeah. There's a version of it. Yeah.